This is the Breaking Up with Binge Eating podcast, where every listen moves you one step closer to complete food freedom. Hosted by me, Georgie and my team at Confident Eaters. A client once described her evenings to me like this. It's like my body waits until the second I sit down. I can make it through the whole day, zero problem. I'm responsible, productive, even calm. But the moment I put on sweatpants and the house is finally quiet, I can almost feel my brain start scanning. Not for dinner, for something else, something tasty. She told me she'd finish her dinner, clean up, and genuinely think, okay, tonight I'm fine. And then she'd sit on the couch and open her laptop just for a second. And then, without even deciding to, she'd stand up, walk to the kitchen, and open the pantry. Not dramatically, not even in a frenzy, more like autopilot. And here's the part that hit her the hardest. She wasn't starving. Sometimes she was comfortably full, but she'd still end up eating a bunch of snack foods, and it would feel both soothing and upsetting at the same time. Afterwards, she would think, what's wrong with me? Why can't I just stop? I hate this habit. Why can't I let it go? If you've ever felt like you can hold it together all day and then the wheels come off at night, this episode is for you. Because the story most people tell themselves about nighttime binge eating is, I don't have enough willpower. I'm weak. I can't be trusted. But as we've been building through this series, loss of control isn't a trait, it's a state. It's what happens when pressure on the system exceeds capacity. And nighttime is often when that happens. Nighttime binging is usually a predictable collision of biology, nervous system needs, emotional suppression, and habit cues that stack up all day, spilling over when we finally try to relax. The goal of today's episode is to help you stop treating nighttime eating like it's a personal flaw and start understanding it as a pattern with drivers. Once you can see the drivers, you can change the inputs without trying to change everything at once. I'm going to walk you through 4 common drivers of nighttime binging. As you listen, notice which one makes you think, oh, that's me. It's rarely all 4, but it may be some of more than one. Driver number 1, underfueling earlier in the day. The bill eventually comes due. Many nighttime binges happen at the end of days that were underfueled, more active than usual, or subtly restrictive. Sometimes it's obvious. You skipped a meal, had a tiny lunch, or a tiny dinner meant to make up for something you ate earlier. But it can be quieter than that. Maybe you're eating just enough to function, but not enough to actually feel settled. You can override hunger during the day with busyness, stress hormones, caffeine, and momentum. But your body keeps the score, and biology often votes at night. If nighttime is really hard for you, get curious about your afternoons. That's often the hinge point. Driver number 2, fatigue and depleted capacity. Self-regulation is not a personality trait that you either scored or missed out on based on the genetic lottery. Self-regulation is a resource. And by the end of the day, that resource is often low. When you're tired, stressed, or emotionally spent, your brain is more likely to reach for the fastest available relief. For many people, that relief is highly palatable food. If nighttime eating is worse on the days that you slept poorly, had a long or demanding day, dealt with conflict, or had to be on for other people, that's not random. That's a sign of depletion. Trying to out-discipline exhaustion rarely works. What works better is support. Driver number 3, decompression and emotional suppression. Night is often the first time of the day that we slow down enough for feelings to surface. Loneliness, resentment, anxiety, sadness, or just a vague sense of emptiness can show up once the noise drops. Food is very effective at changing state. soothing, numbing, distracting, or giving your hands and mouth something to do while your mind quiets. This is where emotional eating and binge eating sit on the same spectrum. Emotional eating is often a regulated attempt to feel different. Binge eating tends to show up when pressure, restriction, or exhaustion completely overwhelm your capacity to pause. Same system, different levels of load. Driver number 4, environment and chains of cues. Most nighttime binges follow a similar sequence. Dinner ends, the kitchen gets cleaned, the couch and screen appear, and the pantry beckons. Time of day, location, and repeated events cue the brain automatically. After enough repetition, this chain can just run without any conscious decision. When someone says, I binge at night because I have no willpower, what they're missing is night is when multiple vulnerabilities stack upon each other. Underfueling, fatigue, emotional load, and habit cues can all collide at once. It's not a question of willpower. That's just not a fair fight. So instead of asking, what's wrong with me? Try asking, which driver is pushing me the hardest right now? Because the fix depends on the driver. If the problem is underfueling, a mindset tool will not solve it. If the problem is emotional suppression, more protein at lunch isn't going to help. If the problem is habits driven by cues, telling yourself to just stop won't make a difference. We need to match the tool to the mechanism. If you want a simple check-in for this week, here are 4 questions to ask yourself in the moment. Did I eat enough today, especially in the afternoon? How tired am I right now? What am I actually needing? Comfort, quiet, reward, relief, or rest? And what chain of habit am I in? Those questions move you out of shame and into problem solving. Now, let's move on to solutions. Pick one driver and try one experiment this week. We're not building a new life plan, we're just changing the odds of how your evenings are going to go. I want to give you some specific things to try. Not as a new perfection project, but just some small inputs. If it's driver number 1, underfueling earlier in the day is behind those evening snack attacks. Try one of these for the next 7 days. Add an afternoon anchor. This could be a snack with carbs and protein around 3 or 4 p.m. Idea number 2, make dinner non-negotiably enough. Not light, not diety, enough that your body can exhale. Third idea, if you track intake, stop using the evening to correct the day. Correction creates the bill that comes due at night. If you must have targets for your intake, set them up for each meal so that every meal is a clean slate, a new opportunity to nourish yourself with the right amount of food. If it's driver number 2, fatigue and depleted capacity explain the siren song of the refrigerator. Your goal is not more discipline, it's lowering load. Here are 3 ideas of experiments to try. First, build a soft landing routine. 10 minutes after dinner where you do one nervous system downshift. This could be showering, stretching, lying on the floor, walking outside, or changing into pajamas. A second idea is to reduce decisions. Decide in advance what your evening food plan is, even if it includes something just for fun, so that tired you isn't negotiating at 9 p.m. Another idea? Earlier bedtime beats later willpower. If the pattern reliably spikes late, experiment with moving bedtime up by 20 or 30 minutes, just for a week, not for forever. Try this just to see if that makes your life any easier. If it's driver number 3, decompression and emotional suppression are pushing you towards the pantry. Your experiments for this week are not to remove feelings, but let's give you a different way to be with them. One idea: name the feeling with one word and then add a second. I'm tired and lonely. Or I'm resentful and bored. That alone reduces the intensity. A second idea: do a 90-second pause before eating. This could be a hand on your chest or your belly, a long, slow exhale, and asking, what would actually help me right now? A third idea is to replace numbing with soothing. If food is doing the job of comfort, give yourself a comfort option that isn't food first. Text someone, take a hot shower, use a weighted blanket, watch a comforting show, journal 5 lines, or listen to music through your headphones. One of my favorites is to put on a guided meditation while in a recliner with a heating pad around my shoulders. Yep, 3 layers of soothing, and I have zero shame about it. Let's say it's driver number 4. Cues and habit chains are winding you up like a toy to march mechanically to the cupboard for chips. Here, we want to make that chain harder to run automatically. One idea is to change the scene after dinner. Literally, different room, different chair, different lighting. Your brain is cue driven. Change the cues. Second idea: create a kitchen closed ritual. Something like brushing your teeth, setting up tomorrow's breakfast, wiping the counters, or turning off the kitchen lights. And a third idea: break one link. So if couch plus laptop is your trigger, try your laptop sitting at the table, or couch with a hand activity like knitting, or taking a short walk before using any screens. Now, if autopilot starts, here's a script you can use. If you catch yourself standing in the pantry or making that beeline for the junk food drawer, try this. 1. Pause and label. This is end of day pressure. Or, I need soothing, I'm feeling let down. 2. Choose one tiny support. I'm going to make a real meal and put it on a plate. Or, I'm going to shower and then decide if I want to have an evening snack. 3. Give yourself permission without a free for all. I'm allowed to eat if that's what I need, and I'm also allowed to stop at enough. This can negate the sense of, I ruined it, that can result from telling yourself the only acceptable evening is one where you don't eat at all. Eating isn't a crime, so if you do decide to get yourself something to eat, make it your goal to enjoy a reasonable serving and still be comfortable after you stop. And if you still binge after trying one small change, that does not mean you failed. It means you're learning which driver is the loudest and you're collecting data instead of collecting shame. The most stabilizing next step after a binge is not restriction. As we've discussed, it's regular meals, hydration, sleep, and curiosity about what made tonight harder than yesterday. Nighttime binging isn't about willpower. It's a pressure and capacity problem. And pressure can be lowered, one input at a time. Before you go, choose one driver, choose one tweak, and let this week be a week where you collect some data. In the next episode, we'll zoom out to what happens before the nighttime spiral, the subtle ways the day can lose its scaffolding, and how to help it land before eating has to do that job for you. I truly appreciate you joining me on this journey. I'll see you next week.